A student in Washington walked into an urgent care clinic describing pain that wouldn't let up. Hours later, a family in Oregon reported the same symptoms: severe cramps, dehydration setting in faster than expected, the kind of gastrointestinal distress doctors associate with something far more dangerous than a simple meal gone wrong. Their cases shouldn't have intersected. Different cities, different meals, different days. But when lab results came back, the genetic fingerprint matched exactly. That alignment was the first sign something was moving through Chipotle's system in a way no one could see. And as more patients arrived, parents, college students, office workers, their stories formed a pattern before the ingredient behind it could be identified. Some had eaten burrito bowls, others salads. A few only ordered chips. The meals didn't match, but the pathogen did. E. coli O26 doesn't need much to spread. A cluster of cells invisible to the human eye can be enough. For the people affected, the impact arrived quickly. What started as discomfort escalated into sharp abdominal pain, sudden dehydration, and in some cases, hospitalization. Doctors recognized the severity long before investigators connected the dots. Behind the scenes, epidemiologists began something called ingredient convergence analysis, tracing every item each person ate, looking for the single overlap that could explain the outbreak. Instead of clarity, the early charts looked fractured. One customer remembered lettuce, another skipped it. One ate tomatoes, another hadn't touched them. The pattern didn't behave like a typical contaminated batch. To understand why, you have to look inside Chipotle's operational model at the time. Ingredients were sourced regionally, chopped fresh, rotated fast, often within 48 hours. That speed meant products spent almost no time sitting still. A pallet delivered in the morning could be entirely consumed by evening. By the time investigators began pulling samples, the original lots tied to sick customers had already been chopped, mixed, served, or thrown away. It was a supply chain designed for flavor, not traceability. Those affected paid the price of that gap. Some had eaten in states hundreds of miles apart, yet their genomes aligned perfectly when sequenced, allele for allele identical. For regulators, that left no doubt. A contaminated ingredient had moved through Chipotle kitchens, even if they couldn't prove which one. Inside the restaurants, the same prep surfaces handled multiple ingredients throughout the day. Tomatoes diced beside cilantro, lettuce chopped next to onions, a board wiped down every few hours instead of every ingredient cycle. When pathogens move in microscopic quantities, that kind of contact creates a cascade no one sees until symptoms appear. Customers looked at the same metal pans and stainless counters millions of others had trusted. They had no reason to think the risk was already in motion. As the outbreak curve rose, regulatory pressure intensified. Not through public announcements at first, but through quiet urgency. Field investigators pressed for shipment logs. Suppliers rushed to provide harvest codes and washing records. Chipotle began pulling ingredients preemptively, even before confirmation. For a chain built on freshness, removing core produce categories meant shutting down the heart of its menu. Parents described their kids' symptoms worsening over a single evening. College students recounted needing IV fluids before they even realized others were sick too. These weren't abstract numbers. They were meals ordered during lunch breaks, study sessions, family outings. Food consumed in seconds that led to symptoms lasting days. Yet every ingredient test came back negative. Not because contamination hadn't occurred, but because the physical evidence no longer existed. Fresh produce had already cycled through the system. What remained were only secondary clues: delivery timelines, preparation routines, and the genetic match tying patient samples together. Investigators looked beyond ingredients. They examined cold chain temperature records, noting how even a short drift of 2 or 3 degrees can allow E. coli to persist longer on leafy surfaces. They traced transport trucks, some waiting with doors open during unloading windows. They reviewed supplier washing procedures, where microbial thresholds allowed small fluctuations that rarely mattered until the wrong day. Each insight narrowed the window, but never revealed the exact point of failure. When Chipotle finally overhauled entire product categories, deep-cleaned kitchens, audited suppliers, and reset prep workflows, the outbreak curve began to fall. Not because the source had been identified, but because it had been flushed out by force. The hazard disappeared the same way it arrived, quietly. For regulators, the unanswered question left a deeper discomfort. If a chain this large could experience an outbreak this widespread without identifying the ingredient responsible, what would prevent the same vulnerability from emerging again at another time with another product in another restaurant? Families recovered. Stores reopened. But the people affected never learned which ingredient had made them sick. And for the rest of the industry, the case became a reminder of a truth many prefer not to confront. When fresh food moves faster than data, the risk doesn't just slip through cracks. It travels unchecked across state lines, dining rooms, and dinner tables, long before anyone realizes what's happening. And the echo of that discovery lingers still, in every kitchen built on speed and every supply chain built on trust. Sometimes the most dangerous failures aren't the ones we detect, but the ones that vanish before the investigation even begins.